26. I'll turn it over to Chairman Litterdale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to declare we do have a quorum. We have 2 people absent. I think 1 is on the way. But we can go ahead with what we've got here. I need to review the minutes of the previous meeting. Any additions, deletions, motions?
Move we approve as presented.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. All right, tonight we do have 7 requests. First 4 are in the county, the second 3 are in the city. Before we get to that, Mr. Ethan Calhoun from the Northwest Georgia Regional Office will review the processes and paperwork for this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, the meeting tonight, the purpose of tonight's meeting will be to have a public hearing to hear comments for and against each of the items on the agenda. And out front, we do have agendas if anyone would like a copy. And the chairman will govern the meeting in order to maintain order tonight. And each item on the agenda, the same exact procedure will follow. And that procedure will be the chairman will introduce the item and ask for the staff to come forward and give a presentation, a recommendation. That'll be myself. Once that recommendation has been given, the chairman will then ask for the petitioner, that is the person who's requesting to rezone their property, to come forward to the podium and answer any questions that may arise. Once the petitioner's comments have been heard, the chairman would ask if anyone here tonight other than the petitioner would like to speak in favor of the rezoning. Once all comments in favor of the rezoning have been heard, the chairman will then ask if anyone here tonight would like to speak in opposition of any of the items on the agenda, or that particular item. If you're here tonight to speak in opposition to any of the items on the agenda, we do have forms out front where you walked in, where you would need to fill out those forms and clearly note your name, print your name for the record, and note the item on the agenda that you are speaking in opposition of. And that is state law that we must follow through with, and we also like to use that to make sure that we get your name correctly in the minutes if you're here to speak in opposition. Once the opposition's remarks have been heard, the chairman will then ask if the petitioner would like to come forward again to address any of those issues that were raised in opposition. If no new information is presented in the petitioner's rebuttal, the chairman will then close that public hearing and no further comment will be heard on that agenda item. And then we'll move to the next item on the agenda, and again, same process, same procedures will follow suit. Again, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to hold a public hearing to hear comments for and against the rezoning item. Once the regular meeting, or the public hearing portion of the Planning Commission meeting has ended, the chairman will move into the regular meeting. You're welcome to stay for that regular meeting, but no further comment will be heard from the public at that point. And the Planning Commission will deliberate a recommendation that will be sent forth to the Board of Commissioners and the Mayor and Council of the City of Dalton. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ethan. First item is to hear the request of Uriel Salas to rezone from general commercial C2 to R2, parcel 12-103-02-081 in the county. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request here before us is a fairly simple one. What we have is a request to rezone from a general commercial zone district to the low-density single-family zone district. The purpose of this rezoning was raised due to the petitioner's desire to remodel an existing single-family dwelling on the subject property. In order to do that, they would need to have the property rezoned for residential use. Based on the surrounding land use, while there is a fairly large general commercial zone district through the Cleveland Highway area that does currently cover the subject property, if you'll note to the north, to the south, and to the west, the R2 zone district is a large, consistent, single-family zone district and suits the property based on its existing development. Looking at the comprehensive plan, you'll note it's within the suburban neighborhood character area of the comprehensive plan, and based on the surrounding land use and development that exists, In the current state of the subject property, along with the petitioner's desire to remodel the single-family dwelling, we find no issues, no conflicts with the comprehensive plan. Of course, we look at development in the area, and again, mostly single-family detached dwellings adjacent to the subject property, so no issues with existing development patterns if this rezoning is approved. And with that, Mr. Chairman, the staff recommendation is to approve. Be happy
Very
to
good.
answer any questions.
Questions? Questions here? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, is Mr. Solis here? Solis? Can you come on up, please? Got any comments, additions,
No, not
agreements,
really.
problems?
Everything's clear.
So you just want to remodel?
Yeah, I
Re-
bought it thinking it was a residential home.
Yeah, it looks residential, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but, okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody here would like also to speak in favor? Anybody like to speak in opposition? Very well, we close that issue. I think before we get to the next one, let's check before he gives his analysis. Mr. Glenn Voiles, are you here? Okay. We just want to make sure people are here before we start the process. Oh, anyhow, it's Glenn Voiles seeking to rezone from R5 to GA, parcel 1303403, 000, 233 Quinn Drive, in order to add a single-family dwelling. Ethan, this is also in the county.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a request here to rezone from R5 rural residential to general agriculture. And we have a subject property that meets the minimum acreage size for the general agriculture zone district, just at 5 acres. This property does currently have an existing manufactured home, and the request of the petitioner is in order to add one additional manufactured home to the property, or one additional single-family dwelling to the subject property. Looking at the zoning map in this area, we can see a large, consistent R5 rural residential zone district surrounding the subject property and including the subject property. But just to the south and to the east, we can see a very large general agriculture zone district with very little separation from the subject property. And in terms of existing zoning, it would create an island of general agriculture, but the R5 and GA zone districts share a number of similarities, with the difference being the potential for commercial agriculture practices and things of that nature to occur on general agriculture property. But when we look at the subject property and its size, there's no concern for any kind of larger operations that would have any sort of a negative impact on any of the existing residential properties in this area. And of course, the subject property itself has plenty of area for a second dwelling. And if we look in the area with the established density and development pattern, this would not disrupt anything in terms of unit per acre density or character in this area. Looking at the comprehensive plan, the rural residential character area covers this area quite consistently. You can note the preserved character area nearby. The general agriculture zone district is an excellent fit for the rural residential character area in the comprehensive plan. And again, based on the established unit per acre density in this area and general agriculture zone district in almost immediate proximity, we see no conflicts with the comprehensive plan character area for rural residential if this rezoning is approved. Based on all those factors, Mr. Chairman, the staff recommendation is to approve. Happy to answer any questions.
Got it back there? Questions over here? Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Mr. Voiles? Could you state your name and address for the record
Glenn Voiles,
and your address?
233 Quinn Drive.
Okay. Do you have anything to add?
No, sir.
Questions?
No, sir, that's all we wanted was to rezone it where she could put a double wide on it.
Okay. Questions up here? Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? Anybody like to speak in opposition? That said, that closes review on that request. I see the next one, Brian's here. Brian Spence is seeking to rezone from low-density R2 to R5 attractive land on Clio Way to develop two duplex structures. This is, believe it or not, is in the city. It's very, I'm sorry, it's in the county. It should be. You would think it were in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this request to rezone from R2 to R5 stems from the petitioner's desire to build multiple duplexes on the subject property. I believe it did note on the application that the petitioner intended to build two duplexes, but based on a thorough analysis of the property, there may be potential for more than two duplex structures on this property based on its size and overall amount of road frontage. So, but based on the looks of the subject property from a zoning standpoint, we can see on the zoning map it's currently zoned R2 for low-density single-family. We do not see an adjacent R5 zone district. However, we do see an adjacent transitional residential zone district, which is that light blue color just to the south and east of the subject property. You can see that's a fairly consistent zone district in this area. And the R6 and R5 zone districts share a number of similarities. R5 does have a few more limitations than the R6 zone district. So we do see an established character for this type of zoning and density in the area adjacent to the subject property. We also see a fairly large general commercial zone district throughout this area, as well as neighborhood commercial immediately to the west. Next, Mr. Chairman, as you pointed out, we are in essentially a county island within the city of Dalton's corporate boundaries. And next, we can see development in this area, and one notable feature to point out is the county jail just to the north, and you can see some of the commercial development to the west. So we're in somewhat of a transitional area between residential and commercial and something of a pocket neighborhood around the subject property to the south and east. Subject property currently is undeveloped, and again, the petitioner's desire is to build multiple duplex dwellings. Again, we can see a close-up of the subject property in its current state, along with some of the adjacent development, including a church, multiple residential structures, and we can see some pretty high residential lot density just to the south. Here we see that the subject property is within the suburban neighborhood character area in the comprehensive plan. This character area, again, is intended to protect the integrity of single-family neighborhoods predominantly, but also allow for other types of development as appropriate based on whatever the existing or established development pattern is. And again, when we look at when we looked previously at the zoning map, we saw the transitional residential zone district adjacent, as well as some higher single-family density and even some multifamily development throughout this area as well. So we do not see a conflict with the comprehensive plan based on this request, given the established development in this area. Staff recommendation, based on all those factors, is to approve the rezoning request. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
None? Very good. Thank you, Ethan. Mr. Spence?
Brian Spence, 1387 New Hope Church Road. I'm planning on doing more than two duplexes, whatever it cuts up into. I don't know right now because we got a couple of issues with roads not being roads, private roads, city road, county road, who knows? Nobody knows.
Which one, Cleo?
Elite. It's Elite, isn't it? Yeah, Elite Drive.
That's the one behind?
Yeah.
Oh, so you may orient the buildings differently?
I need a road frontage, or whatever. If it's a county road, city road, or private, I can't build off county. I can, city I can. But without that road frontage, then I don't know exactly what we can cut it up into, because there's road frontage on Cleo, Lydia, and Elite.
But you're thinking 2 duplexes?
It'd be more than that, just on Cleo, so, yeah, I mean, it'd be more than 2.
So your request now is for 2,
Well,
dependent on what you
I'm
can do,
requesting as many as I can get, which,
basically the zoning.
yeah.
So this that says up to 2 could be more than?
Possibly 7 from my figures, but
Any other questions?
7 duplexes?
yes.
So would we need to change this since it says up to 2? No, doesn't
No.
matter?
I don't think
Just
so. I mean,
long-
it's just whatever the zoning will allow.
The zoning will allow, once we
Okay.
approve it.
Yep.
Okay?
Are all the, on the 7, all of them have access from Cleo, you said?
Yes.
I misunderstood that.
Well, it's got 3-sided road frontage. I'll take as many as on Cleo I can get, and as many as on Lydia, as many as on Elite. And that's their problem. They're saying Elite is, a private drive, but it's been kept up by the city or county. Somebody paved it, somebody curved it. And it's got a green sign, so we're going through the process with the lawyer.
Got a green?
And it's been deeded tracts of land off of it, so, who knows, we'll find out.
So some of your duplexes will face Cleo and some of them will face you,
More
can.
than likely Cleo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or sideways even.
we're side.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to speak in favor? Anybody speak in opposition?
My name is Elaine Morgan, and we live at 1386 Lyda Street, which is right off of Cleo Way.
Which one that is? Yes, ma'am. And
Okay, we are in opposition for one reason. The road frontage there is very narrow, and there's already a lot of traffic on Cleo Way. Another thing is, we're afraid it's gonna mess with our property value and our taxes. And we're also afraid that the crime rate might go up. And that's it for me. Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Is that Lyda Street? Yeah. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in opposition? Mr. Spence, do you have a rebuttal? Okay, very well. That closes that request. Next one is Mr. or Luis Vasquez, seeking to rezone from R2 to R5. Yes, is he here? Good catch. Oh, okay, very good. From R2 to R5, parcel also on Cleo Way, apparently right next door, in order to set up 2 duplexes. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a property, again, in the same area, as you pointed out, immediately adjacent to the south of the former property that we just held a public hearing on. And the request, being very similar, is to request to rezone from R2 to R5 for the same purpose. With this property, there was a note on the application as well for 2 duplexes, and based on the size of this property, we believe that's a reasonable accommodation for the subject property based on its size and road frontage. And again, I'll spare you from going through the areas. We've just reviewed that already, so we can see the same zoning in the area. This property flanks the R7 zone district as well, both to the south and to the east. And again, we can see the city boundaries affecting the subject property along multiple boundaries as well, but this is, again, a unincorporated county property. Next, we see the development of the area, again, same as previously, as well as the future development map. Based on the same factors as mentioned in the previous case, the staff recommendation in this case is to approve. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Vasquez? Your name and address for the record, please.
My address?
Yeah, name and address.
Luis de Santiago Vasquez, 1020 Martin Luther King.
If you have any comments, questions, anything you'd like to add? Very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else who would like to speak in favor? Anybody else who'd like to speak in opposition? Very well, that closes that request, and that closes the county's portion, and the commissioners will be leaving us at this time. All right. The next issue is Shazman Ali. Are you here? Okay. Seeking to rezone from M2 to C2, 2 tracts of land, 4.05 acres at 1028 Willowdale Road. This is in the city, in order to change the manufacturing building into an indoor recreation center. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a little more unique case here than previously, where we are currently zoned for heavy manufacturing and a request to be rezoned to general commercial. And this request is somewhat unique in that the petitioner's desire is to remodel the existing building that has been formerly used for manufacturing or warehousing to an indoor recreation facility, which the petitioner can speak into greater detail about the types of things that they would like to include in the facility. But based on the established zoning in this area, we can see the subject property is on the boundary between the R2 low-density single-family and the M2 heavy manufacturing zone districts, while also being adjacent to the high-density residential R7 zone district just to the south. In looking at this area, it is, again, a point of convergence between 3 different zone districts. The proposed rezoning would change the zoning of the subject property to general commercial. While there is not currently a general commercial zone district adjacent, the north bypass is in immediate proximity, and we can see a consistent neighborhood commercial and general commercial zone district in that area. And when looking at the large heavy manufacturing zone district, it's not unusual for the C2 and M2 zone districts to be adjacent to one another. Looking at the county and city boundaries, we can see the subject property being within the city's boundary, but adjacent to the county's boundary to the west, north, and east. Looking at existing development in this area, you can see that there is an existing apartment dwelling to the south of the subject property. And if we look at the subject property itself, again, does currently contain a warehouse-type industrial building. Does have a significant amount of area for parking and additional development as well. And if we look just to the west, you can see the large manufacturing district that has been heavily developed, as well as to the south across the street. Closer look at the subject property here, again, we can see additional area on the property as well as the existing structure. Within the comprehensive plan, this area is within the industrial character area. That character area, of course, is intended for industrial use.
Again, based on the commercial potential for the subject property, its current state, it could be used certainly as manufacturing, but given the comparative intensity of general commercial and heavy manufacturing, it is worth noting that general commercial zone district allows for less intensive types of land use that could affect neighboring properties, particularly those that are residential. So this rezoning essentially would be a reduction in overall land use intensity. Based on the existing industrial development and existing residential development being adjacent, staff believe that this is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan, even though the desired use for the subject property is not industrial but commercial in character. Again, this would help reduce the intensity of the subject property as it adjoins residential zoning and development. Essentially, buffers and setbacks and all would still be required very heavily, of course, on a C2 property, so any additions or expansions of the subject property would require a maintained buffer along the R7, the southern portion of the subject property, as well as the western, northern, and eastern boundaries of the property. So those buffers would still be required in place and would require no special motion to be made. That would carry with the zoning itself. With all that in consideration, the staff recommendation in this case is to approve. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Riley?
Evening.
Your name and address, please.
Shazman Ali, 932 Lillet Lake Street, Dalton, Georgia.
Okay, is that building been occupied anytime recently? Do you know?
No, sir, just kind of using it for general storage for at the moment, but the goal is to turn it into an indoor pickleball facility. So potentially with food and beverage aspect as well.
What was there? What business was there before you guys bought it?
I think something to do with carpet, because it was purchased from the, yeah, well, it was purchased from the Parkers, so, you know, probably, yep.
You haven't any intention on improving that driveway? It's pretty rough.
We'll probably have to meet the fire department's like access. It's currently about 15 plus or minus feet. We'd probably increase it another 5 feet, just to allow for, basically for fire trucks to come through.
Now, the apartments, they don't access that driveway at all, do they?
No, sir. Yeah, it's just our own personal driveway.
Ethan, they wouldn't have to do a buffer along the driveway for the apartments. Would that be required?
Generally, anywhere where commercial and residential are aligned across the driveway.
Of course, it's the property. It's basically a flag lot.
It's actually two different parcels. So the actual driveway portion of it, I'm not asking for the rezoning for that. It's just the warehouse portion of it.
Okay.
Yeah, because then if
What do you think? Would it require?
There's two parcels in the application.
Yes. 59 and 65? Because that driveway runs pretty close to that apartment complex, doesn't it?
Can you put the satellite?
There's a good bit of distance between it and the apartments.
Oh, there's a lot of distance.
Oh, is there parking between it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the buildings are not right up against it.
Nah, it looks like it's already got a buffer, pretty much.
Okay.
How many courts can you get in there?
7 courts for sure. I'm gonna try to get 8, but comfortably 7 courts would be the goal.
7 with some sort of structure or
Yes,
structure.
sir. Yeah, currently inside
Restrooms and
there,
things?
yeah, there's like an indoor office space is what they were using it as, so that would be the pro shop, and then the restrooms, locker rooms, things like that, and right above it, we could have a seating area, and also in between the courts, we could have just other, like ping pong tables and just other fun stuff to do, basically.
Any other questions? That's all. Thank you, sir. Is anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? Anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? Excellent. That closes on that request. The next one is Juan Figueroa, are you here? Juan Figueroa? Last call, Juan Figueroa. I am saying it right. Very good. We'll have to table that one. It is required that the requester would be here for this review. The next one is Danielle Putnam. Are you here? Yes. Danielle Putnam is seeking to rezone from R3 to R5, parcel 12-241-02009, 504 Mosedale Drive, to construct a duplex. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The rezoning before us would be to rezone from the medium-density single-family residential zone district to the R5 rural residential zone district. When we look at zoning in this area, we can see we have another convergence between the general commercial zone district and the R3 zone district in this case. So we can see the commercial and residential zone districts converging along the subject property's eastern boundary. The petitioner's request would be to develop the subject property with a single duplex. The current size of the subject property is roughly 1/3 of an acre. And we saw earlier the R3 zone district, so this would create very quickly an island of R5, but when we look around the area, again with the general commercial zone district, we also see within this R3 neighborhood just to the west, the R7 zone district, as well as C2 and heavy manufacturing in this area. We can see here that the subject property is within the city boundaries, along the boundary with the unincorporated county. And we can see development in this area rather sparsely, a lot of diverse development. If we look to the south of the subject property, we can see multifamily. If we look over to the west of the subject property, slightly detached from the property, several parcels to the west, we see multifamily. We also see general commercial to the east and almost immediately to the north. Here again, we can see existing development with, again, very near commercial development to the east. We can see the subject property is currently undeveloped. There was previously development there of some sort, likely single-family residential, that has since been demolished. And the subject property would be considered infill development. The character area for the comprehensive plan for the subject property is part of the Regional Activity Center character area. This character area is intended to serve as a sort of a regional or a neighborhood kind of district, an area that people would come to do business or potentially have multifamily developments where higher density may be permitted due to sewer and development throughout the area. And again, commercial is a big part of the Regional Activity Center. So the two primary land uses in this character area are multifamily and commercial. So the petitioner's request would be in alignment with the intent of the comprehensive plan based on that character area. Based on all those factors in consideration, the staff do not believe this would have a negative impact on the adjacent properties and recommend approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Eric? None, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Putnam?
Good evening.
Name and address, please.
Danielle Putnam, 200 Lynn Street, Dalton, Georgia.
Very good. Any comments, questions, things you want to add?
Sure. The property, when we purchased it, did have a duplex on it. It was probably supposed to be originally a single family, but at some point, it was turned into a duplex. And so when we purchased it, it was not something that we could save. And so we did go ahead and have it demolished. And so it's just been vacant for a couple years now. And we thought, instead of it sitting there vacant, it'd just be better for the value of the area if we go ahead and put a true duplex on the property, but we would need to rezone it to do that. That's why we're here.
Simple enough.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak in favor? Anybody like to speak in opposition? That said, we'll close that request, and that will close the public portion of our meeting. We will go into closed meeting deliberation. You're welcome to stay and listen, but nobody will be able to take part in it from here on out. This is a quick one. You ready, Ethan? Okay, comments? Let's go back to the first one. Solis, it's got two L's here, but one L. Make sure. Just a remodel.
Yeah, move to approve.
Chris moves to approve.
Second.
Eric seconds.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next issue is Glenn Boyles. This one is also way out, or is out in the county, to add an additional single-family dwelling. Comments?
Move we approve.
Second.
Jody and Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The next one is Brian Spence, R2 to R5, to develop duplex structures just off Cleo Way. Make a motion with comments or just straight motion? I mean, it seems like he's dealing with the right-of-way and not necessarily the zoning. This is his only issue. Whatever the building inspector, once we classify the zone, be up to him to judge whether it's within zoning.
Move we approve.
Jody makes a motion to approve. Eric seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next one is Mr. Vasquez, who's also doing the property next door to duplexes. Comments? Motion?
Move to approve.
Chris makes motion. Eric seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Shazman Ali, that's the one, the manufacturing building to make a pickleball rec center.
Move to approve. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. Chris makes a
Move we-
motion.
oh,
Jody seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Juan Figueroa is not with us. That is a table. Ms. Putnam is seeking to rezone 405 Mossdale Drive, single duplex replacement, really.
Move we approve.
Jody makes a motion.
Second.
Eric seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Oh, no, here she comes.
Just one other.
Yeah, apparently there's other. Uh-oh. So who's leaving the country for next meeting? You gonna be out of country?
Can be.
Jody?
Do it. Chris, don't you do it.
Oh, yeah, we can.
This is the Glacier Church located on Underwood between the Boys and Girls Club and what used to be the VFW. What they're
Used to
trying
be Church of God before that,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. I think
Why
so.
they make it,
This church
on-
used to be Church of God, is that what you're saying? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Way back.
Pentecostal church right
Yep.
now. We're just trying to separate out that house that's to the east of the church, down in the southeast corner. This
Oh,
is a
okay.
city plat, so it has to be approved by you guys.
That's where-
It's been signed off by all the city
Oh, okay, yeah.
departments. They meet the
Sure.
lot size requirements, so it's just separating the church from this dwelling. Staff recommends that you approve it. Everyone see what they're doing?
Move approve.
Second.
Chris, Jody, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.